It was early October when I made my way up through the Allegheny Mountains, chasing fog and stories along the spine of Appalachia. The forests up there are older than most cities, older than even the legends, and I was nearing the final phase of my journey, writing the last chapters of a book that had consumed 3 years of my life. I was documenting forgotten myths and land-rooted fears. I thought I was prepared. I had started down south, in the Smokies, then on to North Carolina, up through the hollers of West Virginia. Each stop came with a whispered warning, superstitions passed from shaking hands and broken teeth. I had collected dozens of strange tales, a man who vanished in his own barn, a girl who burned with no fire, and always stories of things that live in the trees, watching. But there was one story that stuck out, mentioned only briefly by an older woman in rural Pennsylvania. She called it the Hollow One, said it could twist a man up until he walked wrong and thought wrong, said her brother saw it once and never spoke again. I chalked it up to the usual rural legend, but she wouldn't let go of my hand when I left. If you hear breathing and you're alone, she warned, run toward the open field. I smiled, nodded, moved on. My last stop was a small, unincorporated township in northern Pennsylvania. Nothing more than a scattering of houses along a logging road. I was there to meet a man named Edric Hallow. Yes, that was really his name. Edric lived on the edge of state forest land and had, according to his nephew, seen things he wasn't supposed to see. I arrived mid-morning. Fog hung low, caught in the trees like old gauze. The air smelled like wet leaves and wood smoke. I pulled up to Edric's house, more of a crooked cabin with tin roofing, and he was already outside, leaning against a cane carved with symbols I didn't recognize. "You the writer?" he asked without looking up. "I am," I said. "Name's Aaron." He nodded slowly. "Come on then. We ain't got all day. Fog's sticking." "That's not good." We sat inside at a table stained with decades of coffee and rainwater. Edric poured me a cup, and we got to talking. He was clear-headed despite the wild look in his eyes. We talked about the forests, the changes in the land, the silence that seemed to grow thicker each year. Then I brought it up. "I've heard about something called the Hollow One," I said carefully. He stopped pouring. His shoulders tensed. "You shouldn't say its name," he said. "Can you tell me what it is?" "No one knows. But it watches. It waits. And if you see it once, it remembers you." I didn't know what to say. He reached for a box under the table and slid it toward me. Inside were pages of notes, handwritten journals, some going back decades. He'd been collecting stories like mine, but with a far more obsessive edge. Dozens of them referenced an entity in the forest, formless but heavy, faceless but with eyes that pressed into your skull. They all described the same moment: paralysis, nausea, and a sound like wind moaning through hollow bones. "I saw it when I was 16, Edric said, "back when the coal mines still operated. It got my brother. Left his boots behind, but nothing else." "Did you try to find him?" He nodded. "I went in. Deep into the woods, lost 3 days of memory. Woke up with a broken leg and blood in my ears. I haven't walked right since. I didn't sleep much that night. The woods outside the cabin pressed against the window panes, whispering with wind and branches. I woke twice, thinking I heard footsteps on the porch, but nothing was there. The next morning, Edric took me to the trailhead where it happened. We hiked slowly. The fog didn't lift. Birds didn't sing. No insects buzzed. It was like the forest had been drained. We stopped at a small ridge. "This is where it begins," he said. "It doesn't matter which direction you go after this. If it wants you, it'll find you." I asked him what he meant. He looked me straight in the eyes. "I can't go any farther. You want to learn? You have to go alone." I should have turned back. Instead, I thanked him, took a photo of the trail sign, and stepped forward. The forest grew colder, not in temperature, but in sensation, like something breathing down my neck. I followed the trail for an hour before it stopped abruptly. No warning, just ended at a fallen tree covered in moss. That's when I heard it. A sigh, not mine, not wind, deep, wet, and close. I spun around. Nothing. Then I smelled something wrong. A chemical rot, like wet copper and decay. And then I saw it. Just a glimpse. It didn't have a shape, not exactly. More like an absence of everything else. Light, color, reason. A black hollow, like looking into a broken mirror that only showed rot and ruin. The trees bent slightly around it. I couldn't move. My legs locked. My stomach churned. Something in my head screamed without sound. It vanished in a blink. But the sickness stayed. I turned and ran, or thought I did. I don't remember choosing to run, just that the world smeared into a whirl of bark and ground. I remember falling. I remember my hand catching a branch and the branch breaking off like wet paper. My skin started to itch and tear. I could feel blood trickling from my ears. My vision blurred. Trees moved when I wasn't looking. A crow flew backwards. I screamed. I don't know why. Maybe just to prove I still existed. That night I found shelter under a stone outcrop. My camera was gone. My GPS showed only static. I curled up under a mylar blanket and tried not to dream. But I did. I dreamed of mouths in the trees, of my own voice echoing back at me in a stranger's tone, of a man crawling through leaves with no eyes, whispering my name over and over. When I woke, my left arm wouldn't move. It had turned blue from elbow to wrist. I could see something moving beneath the skin, twitching. I didn't scream that time. I just bit down on my tongue and waited until it stopped. I walked without direction until dusk. Then I heard the breathing again. This time it came from above. I looked up and saw a shadow against the canopy, something massive and thin hanging upside down like a bat. Its arms were too long. Its fingers dragged across the branches. No eyes, no mouth, just holes. I blacked out. I woke up 2 days later in a hospital in Kane. A hunter had found me lying in the road, bleeding from my nose and mouth. I had hypothermia, a broken collarbone, and torn muscles in both legs. They said I was lucky to be alive, but I don't feel lucky. Something came back with me. I see it in mirrors, in the still moments before sleep. I hear it behind closed doors, whispering nothing. I lost vision in my left eye, and doctors can't explain why. My skin still itches where I saw that twitching. The dreams haven't stopped. I write them down. I keep them in a journal, but I won't read them twice. I'm going to finish my book. I owe it to everyone who didn't come back from those woods. But once it's done, I'm going back to the Hollow, because I can't live like this, and maybe, just maybe, it's still waiting for me.